and that is, I managed to get a list of the hate group that stormed the Capitol, and I would like to give a list to the chair and to the president of the NAC, president of the supervisor. These are very dangerous people, and we getting a hand on them, but then still, you know, it's not easy to know that these people are out there, and you don't know what they will or won't do. Also, on William Road, I have Jesse Bush, but his son lives on William Road, and they have a lot of speeding and racing, and the people cannot sleep on that road, and they just want me to bring it to your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Turner. Thank you for that report. All that's helpful information. Be able to use some of that. And there is a lot of speeding on Williams Road. I certainly agree with you, and hopefully we can do something to cut back on the speeding that's taking place there. Thank you. Moving forward, do we have any other citizens who would like to make a comment? If we don't have any additional citizens to make a comment, we move forward with facility review update. We have Mr. Major and Mr. Ashford with Major Architectural Firm. We're glad to have you.
Glad to be here.
I'm sure you all have done a lot of work, so we'd like you to go ahead and share that work with us.
All right, and we'll be able to pull down the projection.
Get the line.
Yeah. Guess we'll go ahead and get started. Well, first of all, we'd like to thank y'all for recommending us to give you an update on the building assessment report. Our first couple of slides are just real quick showing just kind of updated information about kind of about Arturo County a little bit about B.S. The next couple of slides just show a little bit of MDS. That'll be just kind of information that you'll have. The next one, two more photos that you've seen. Next one, and one more. All right. So starting here is what we do have. Basically, this sheet right here will be your findings and your recommendations that we'll be presenting to you. In the first column over there, we already have the utility costs. We just got to get those plugged in. We will have to get with the county on the maintenance cost of what they've paid for for maintenance over the last couple of years. So we'll be looking at getting those costs. The next slide. Here we were just starting to look at some of the population for our Arturo County, and we were actually going to look at it compared to like the rest of Mississippi to kind of see how we're ranging in terms of growth. So we got a little bit more adjustment to do on there. And here is where we're starting to look at the county building inventory. So the first building you see up there is the main courthouse. And actually you have about 21 staff employees in the building, and it's roughly around 25,000 square feet. The age of the building is roughly 58 years old, and we found out that there was an original courthouse built prior to that one, but it was demolished. And then this one was actually built in 1963 from what Archives and History has on their information. In addition to that, the building just to our right here out the window is the investigation building, and basically you have about 5 employees in there from what we've been told, and that's roughly around 2,000 square foot. And that building was actually built back when this courthouse was built originally, from my understanding in terms of what Archives and History had on their information as well. The next item, the next building would be the Sheriff's Department. And that's one building that we had gotten information on, but we were unsure if you were going to want to do anything with that space, or would you even want to consider, maybe having some of the sheriffs to be put in the new building, or kind of what's your thoughts? I guess that's just some talking points that we need to kind of get an understanding from how you want to look at that part. But going down to emergency management, we know that on the second floor of the building, right across the street over here from us, they're just utilizing the second floor. So that's roughly around 5,100 square feet. It was around 2010. So it's 11 years old. And then we know that the circuit clerk administration office for the county, it has about 35 employees in there. It's about 14,000, almost 15,000 square feet. And that building was built back in 2005, if we're correct, either 4 or 5. And then we have the Justice Court. There's about 10 employees in there, and it's about 9,600, almost 9,700 square feet. And that building, is roughly about 9,600 square feet. And that one, part of that building, I think, was built in 1955. And I think there was an addition that was added on to the building in the probably past 10 years, I think. There was an addition added on. The Felix Long building has about 29 employees in there, and it's roughly around 22,000 square feet. And that building was built in 1949. And then Arturo County Health Department, it has about 21 employees, and it's roughly around 7,900 square feet. And that building was built in 1983. So your average buildings are roughly, you're looking at buildings of around 58 years old. And so just taking those square footages right there, if you took every one of those spaces or every one of those areas that are needed, you'll be looking at roughly around 89,000 square feet. So if you take that number, which we actually still use the 88,428, of your square footage of your current facility. Roughly that's about 8 buildings that you'll have to maintain. Again, with the average years of 58, and if you looked at today's cost, roughly that'll be about $350 a square foot. You'll be in the neighborhood of 30 million, almost $31 million to basically build the same building of what you have currently. Now, the thing is, the next question is, we know that not all of the spaces, you basically not going to have to put all of those programs in your new building, okay? So now it starts to get to the point of which spaces are going to go into the new building. And then the other thing that we found out as we start, we'll go through the next couple of slides just to show you this real quick. As we started going through, like in the main courthouse, over on your left, we got the building component assessment that we're going to do. Basically, we have another round where we're going to go through and look at every component of the building in terms of the structure, the roof, the exterior materials, window doors, HVAC, all of that. We're going to basically rank all of that stuff in terms of how the building works and how it meets those requirements. The first time we went through, we just looked at square footages, which are over here on the right-hand side. So we looked at what was in the building the first time. Now we're going to make another round where we're going to go back and start to look at the structures and in terms of interiors and how everything kind of works. Does it work? Does it not? Does it meet ADA? Does it meet fire code? And all of these things. We're going to do that assessment as well. In addition to that, we have been talking with some of your directors, and there are some additional needs that they have talked to us about. So if we wanted to start to look at creating a new building, then I think we almost need to look at talking with all of the department heads about what do they need to be more functional, to be more efficient in doing work for the county. How can we go about basically trying to set a meeting with them and with the supervisors and talk about what all is needed, and then we can start to sort out from there. Okay, we can leave this part in the old building, this part can go into the new building. We can start to kind of think through some of the different caveats, the different options for the county. But just kind of going through the rest of the slides here. The investigation, the old jail, we had some of those square footages. Again, we're not sure if anything would come of the investigation. We're not sure if you would want that space to go into the new building or leave it. The old jail, I don't know kind of what's your thoughts on that. Would you want to do anything there or leave that part? That may be another discussion that we'll have to have. The next slide, again, would be the sheriff's department there. What would we need to do with that one in terms of, do we leave it as is and just leave everybody housed in there like they are, or do we make some adjustments? Next one, we have the 911, which is just mainly on the second floor. We'll look at the building components of that building, but with that building being fairly new, only 11 years old, everything in it should be pretty much up to code and meet all the requirements there. The next buildings would be the circuit clerk and the administration building. So out of these spaces, which spaces could we start to look at? Which spaces could start to go into a new building, and how the function of this existing building can be utilized. So those are some things that we just kind of want to have y'all to start thinking about, because those are some discussions that we need to have in order for us to really finalize this in a manner that's going to be beneficial for you. The next slide, of course, there's the Justice Court building. The spaces that we talked with Ms. Sykes, and then kind of looked at all the different spaces, and I think she even mentioned some different things that she really needed in a new building to make her spaces more efficient as well. The next one, Really, no one was in this building when we actually did our tour of that one. So that's just kind of the that smaller youth court office building there. The next one would be the Felix Long building, the old hospital. Of course, we have the extension in there. We have the Department of Human Services, and then we have Child Protective Services. So we went through and met with each one of those departments. And we looked at all the spaces that they had and talked to them about what else would they have to have in addition. So those would be some more department heads that we will probably need to sit down with the Board of Supervisors and just kind of talk through some additional items. All right. That's it. And then the health department would be the last one here. So basically we talked with Ms. Hughes here and looked at the spaces that they have and what they actually need. So those will be, and we actually have a second column up there. So proposed, we have existing square footage, and then we have proposed square footage. That's going to be the new square footages that we're going to need to put in there, because a lot of your spaces that we go to, the offices are not even the recommended size to meet code. You know, some of them are like 82 square feet. And, you know, they really need to be based on IBC code. You know, for one office, it really needs to be a minimum of like 100 square feet. And some of those are less than that. And so there are some things, a lot of bathrooms don't meet ADA and those types of things that we're kind of needing to look at. Are there any questions so far? No questions so far?
Might take you.
I think it'd be wonderful to eventually get that proposed square footage.
Mm-hmm.
And then you've told us how much it will cost to put all the existing employees into a building.
Correct.
But if we're going to be able to expand and really meet the needs of some of our office space,
mm-hmm.
then that's one we really need, so we can see how much that will cost.
Correct.
Eventually. So I know you're moving
Yes,
moving
sir.
in that direction.
That's
so that's
correct.
a good thing.
Yes, sir. That's correct. Also, I know that y'all are kind of interested. That'll be the next PDF. I know y'all are kind of interested. How would the building square foot look? And probably go to the first one, maybe. All right. So here's the floor plan of your county administration right now, and currently the county office is up in the upper left-hand corner of the building over there. And we know that y'all don't really have enough space, because I don't even think the supervisors don't even have an office in the building.
So storage, there's a multitude of problems with this area.
So that's something else that we'll need to look at. And then, you know, if we start to look at, okay, let's pull that space out of that building, then that may even help that building to flow more better as a justice court building, not a justice, but a circuit court building, because of moving those spaces out, because we already have justice over there by the old Felix Long. But how can that start to help to utilize those spaces more? The other thing, the next slide will actually show you, this is the old Felix Long site right here, and what I did, I just tried to, basically, if you look at the second slide on the top right, it has the green outline. That's actually the layout of the land for the county. And then up in the very upper corner, the upper left corner, that's part of the Justice building up there now, the Justice Court building. That's actually in the third slide, or the lower left slide. That's owned by the county. So basically, you have that area there, which is roughly right around 5 acres. And so the question comes up, and I know that we have the October Hall clinic back here in the very back of the site as well, which is to the right. So that's kind of a separate issue there in terms of that property. But the question comes up, could a 89,000 square foot building fit on this site? And the next slide Yes, it could, but it's gonna be a little tight. And that's just everything being on one floor. So we could start to look at going up possibly 2 floors and having everything, some of those spaces pulled out and actually put on that site. So that is doable, but one of the questions I would have initially is, if you do that, then you gotta figure out a way to make sure Justice Court is still up and running while you're putting a new building on the site. You gotta make sure everything in Felix Long is still up and running, and the health department is still up and running while you're putting a new building on that site.
Will that affect the Justice Department? How that, the Justice Department building, would not be for that?
Yes, sir. We're actually encroaching on the corner of it right there.
Right on the corner of it.
Yes, sir. And really, that's the new part that we're approaching on, but it's actually still not, what's the wording? It's actually, there are some upgrades that really need to be done to it, because you only got 2 judges on one hall. The other judge is across the way. They need to be brought over.
Right.
And I talked with them, do they need to start looking at maybe 2 courtrooms, because they got 3 judges. All the other departments have 3 judges and they got 2 courtrooms.
I guess what I'm asking, can the Justice Department operate while we're doing the new building?
Well,
that looks like it's on the site where Felix Longs is located at.
And
also the Justice Department also.
yes, sir. Here,
It's
right
going to
here.
affect the Justice Department to demolish it also.
Yes, sir. It's right there. Look right there on the screen. There's Justice. So this is the old part of Justice right here. It needs to be updated as well. So yes, sir. It does affect it as well. Right.
So they would have to close down, move somewhere else too.
Yes. Now, what you could do, you could actually start on this side, and then basically go ahead and build space for Justice, and then move them over, flip-flop in, is what you could do. You follow me? So that's an option. So you right now, you have all the options. You got different things that you can do. We just need to kind of sit down, I guess, at another work session or something, and to kind of be able to get y'all thoughts and kind of hear from the department heads in terms of what else do they need to be efficient before we kind of put everything to kind of close everything out.
Do you have this on something besides a slide? The information itself. I wanted to show you something, but I don't necessarily want to show you in an open meeting, right? You and I can talk about some of this. I just remember this because there's some other things that I think you need to possibly be aware of.
Okay. Yes, sir. We can look at it. All right. Y'all have any questions or?
Now, with the Chancery, with this courthouse, will y'all just renovate to keep us here?
That'll be a question as who would need to move or relocate and who would stay here. The people that can move would make more room for the people that stay here.
I would prefer to stay here.
Right.
The main courthouse.
Yeah.
The main courthouse. So that's some helpful information for you as you move forward.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
You've already maybe determined that E911 is okay at that location.
Okay.
And the Chancery is deciding that
We want to stay here, but we just need to be updated up to code.
updated to cover this
Right.
way.
Okay.
That's
Now,
two.
Alan,
correct.
what's your,
That's
do you
correct.
want to stay here too?
Well, it depends on the air conditioning heating system. So I'm worried about that.
Well, that's gonna be
I'm worried about what's in the wall.
Yeah,
You know what I'm saying? But we really need a drive-in window
yeah.
to service the taxpayer. Pretty much every tax collector has them. Where the courthouse sits on the side of the hill and the parking lot. You know, I'd prefer to stay here, but I don't think it's really feasible if we get what we need, for space, a drive-through or whatever like that. If they could figure out a way to put a drive-in window out there, maybe.
Because I just thought that the Chancery and tax assessor had to be together.
I wouldn't have a problem staying here if everything, like you said, was up to code. And
Yeah.
somehow or another figure out how to get a
The air
drive in
system.
window and stuff.
Yeah.
And what they do now, with the monitors, you actually can have a person further out with a monitor that you can take that transaction versus being directly at a window. So we have ways to make that work with the current building, we can look at those options.
How would you do that now, so?
With the, like at the, what is that, transfer, so they have all their, they don't even have anybody come to the cadence. To the, bank window, they all have monitors and a pneumatic system that gets you your information
Like
in-house.
the picture comes over the screen and
Right.
you pull up like a Renaissance.
I got it.
Footprint would be compressed a little bit.
I think the digital age can help us with that situation.
Or whatever.
But the parking out there,
Yeah.
terrible. I got a pretty nasty letter today about the parking.
Yeah, parking is awful back there.
And we can look at ways of making that more efficient as well.
Something that
And a new air conditioner system.
this property up right here doesn't belong to the county,
That's correct.
but it could be purchased.
Okay.
There's property in here that possibly could be purchased. One of the things that I want y'all, and I wasn't gonna say this in open, but reality is, it doesn't matter. We don't know what we're doing yet. But my theory would be try to take this in and whatever could be purchased over here, over to Washington Street.
Mhm.
This would open up a flow. You'd have the in and out here, and you'd have the in and out here.
Mm-hmm.
So, as you're thinking about this, and we're deciding where we're going to go, we're not thinking in terms of just keeping one footprint as it stands. Something else to be thinking about is aesthetically. As we're building this, we don't want to build something over there that doesn't mesh into with what we've already currently got. Whether that looks similar to what, I'm not saying it needs to look like City Hall, but it needs to be something that meshes. Because this is, I mean, people live over there. I think I'm speaking to what some of the board members have told me publicly and privately, that as they're looking at this, they want this to be something that has a lifespan of 100 years, 50 or 100 years, and then on top of it all, it's something that helps this area in terms of its aesthetic look. We don't want to build, I guess, a Gulf State building over there and just have the space that needs. That fair?
I don't think the city gonna just let us do that.
Well, that's maybe a fair assessment as well. But I think that's one of their thought processes, that so this we're doing this, and it may need to be something that's built in pieces and parts. We've discussed that part of it too. So if that helps, we're considering this other side here as well.
Do you see a problem with going upward rather than outward?
I think that's almost imperative.
Right, that we do.
Looking at the footprint.
In addition to that, have you thought about parking for the people that are gonna be coming there to utilize our services? Now, there's a drop off down to the east.
Correct.
Have you reviewed that in terms of how that could be possibly used as possible parking space?
Yes, sir, that's gonna be in our final recommendation, how we, some scenarios that you can use to make that site work. Yes, sir.
A lot of information to take in, but certainly a detailed, description of where we need to head, but.
It blows my mind how much space we're actually using currently. We're just getting paid.
I mean, we're at a stage, in our growth, we've got to consider long term, where, after we're all gone, what direction we'll put our county in. So, like I said, certainly a great presentation and a lot of conversations between, I guess, now and what decisions we want to go, and of course, I'm sure we'll have recommendations from others as well. And then,
I suggest you set a work session and try to discuss it. And we, of course, we have other members here. And then we can talk about it and decide which direction we want to go.
I think that's a good idea. If that's a motion, motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we set a work session to discuss where do we go from here? How do we move forward? How do we move forward with the construction of the new building? All in favor? Okay. Motion carries 3-0.
Was there anything else beyond this slide?
No, that's pretty much it.
Would we want them at this work session?
Yeah.
Of course.
That's good, that's good. This is something that I think that maybe the board might consider, recommended by, Mrs. Strong. I think that was a good idea, that we do need to talk to the department heads. We gotta get a feel for what they think they need and what type of renovation need to be made. I would like to even take that a little further, as to have a walkthrough.
Okay.
If you all could guide us through, it doesn't have to be lengthy.
Correct.
It doesn't have to be a lengthy walkthrough,
Okay.
but some of us have been a while since we've actually walked through these buildings
Okay.
to see what actually there, and to see what a dying need that we have to do work on them. So if you would be willing to schedule a walkthrough for our board members and our board attorney and anyone who would like to be a part of that.
Okay.
Mr. President, also something that we're required to do is have this superintendent's space available. That's probably something that needs to be included in the broader picture of it. So would that be something else that having maybe the superintendent be present at something like this? I'm gonna add him in our outreach then.
Would he be a part of the walkthrough session, or would he be a part of our
Work session. I think work session would be most important. And if he wanted to go to the other, yes, he could, but he's probably gonna be more interested in that part.
That's a good idea.
Thank you.
I didn't see the Greensburg Center on
It's not.
You're referring to the education building?
Yes, sir. I'm referring to the education building. Right now, he's not, I don't think they're utilizing it for what the main purpose would have been, but we're required to give him some space. And while we're tackling this, we probably want to at least have the thought process that there may be some space incorporated in this that we may could use. And I'm certain it's gonna be more than, I know that it'll be more than 1,000 square feet that he'll need, but let's just assume that it's got to be somewhere we're gonna put him.
Real quick, with an option, currently they're using the first floor of the education building, correct?
Right.
So would it be worth, maybe flip-flopping the 911 into the new building and just give them that top floor? And then you just got all of your functions in one building.
Well, here's the rub on that is we've got, our communications set up there, towers there, and I would certainly love that conversation to have with Kristen here, our 911 director.
And a better option possibly, and I know, I get where you're going, but what may be a better option is for that lower half of that building to be put in this other, correct? Yes, sir.
And then there's a possibility, because these things, the lay of the land has changed since the last time we were talking about it. I think that would be a workable solution to move county administration out of where they are now, put them in the bottom of that building, education building, and then come up with some alternatives for the space at the school.
For them.
Because I think their priorities have changed now too, so we may want to revisit it to see what their plans
Yes, sir.
are.
I think you're
That's
exactly
why
right.
you're head on.
Yeah, yes, sir.
And we talked about some ideas a while back, but some things have changed since then, with them in us.
We'll get a fresh look with it, fresh look.
And it may have been a benefit to us not moving, I mean, in the grand scheme of things, it may be a better plan.
Will we think about, since we added, will we think about having the school system closer to the existing school population? rather than out somewhere else downtown. The superintendent might not want to be necessarily downtown. I believe he wanted that building on Glen Lane because it was close to the school campus. So
Take all those conversations and more, come out of the work session. Just a suggestion, what about the department heads? Do we want them to be there as well in the work session?
yeah, well,
You think?
Think so.
I mean, I think it's a
I
week,
think so.
have all the moving blocks, at the same time.
Well, it looks like we'll be over in June, because I know we got a work session for next week, on the 26th. Unless y'all want to try to squeeze it in whenever.
Could we have Emily to poll everyone? Ms. Farmer will work that out. Ms. Farmer will work that out. Polling everyone.
I will.
And along with Ms. Emily, to try to get a work session. And would you also schedule a walkthrough for all the supervisors and board attorney who would want to participate in a walkthrough with some of the existing buildings? And Mr. Ashford and Mr. Major will coordinate that and will be responsible for kind of showing us what each department is kind of recommending. So we have an idea once we come back together in a work session, we have a better idea of what visually what they're talking about. Yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you all.
Thank you for all your work. We really do appreciate you.
Good.
Always right.
Those guys are good at what they do. I tell you, that's right too. Attorney Robinson, I guess this is something for you. They are on the contract. And I guess we asking them to do some other things we talk about, blueprint and things like that. Do we need to end this contract and?
No, sir, they're still under the same, y'all are still under the same contract as we were before, correct? We're still working on that?
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
I thought so. I think we're still under the same one. This is still prep.
But what we do, we don't have to advertise for someone.
This is professional services.
That's professional
This
service.
is professional services.
Architecture design.
Yes, sir. We use,
People design to design a building.
yes, sir.
Okay, that's what.
Great.
That's good. Okay. Board members, do you have any additional comments to, questions from Ashford and Major, before they, depart?
I certainly appreciate it.
Good. Look forward to the work session.
Thank y'all.
Thank y'all.
Good job, guys. Keep up good work. Okay. I wish that we could, as a board, continue to decide, make decisions, and ask questions about what we asked a few minutes ago, who really want to be a part of the new building. We just found out Chancellor is happy where they are, and that's good. And tax assessor, that's good. 911 is possibly could continue. So maybe we took care of 3 departments, maybe. Possible.
I think, like I said, that work session with your department heads
Right.
is certainly clear the picture.
Yeah. Okay. Move forward. Legislative update with Representative Taylor and Representative Turner. Ford is not going to be with us. They really was under the impression that the meeting would be at 9 o'clock. They did show up this morning, so they will reschedule. East Tibbetts wastewater expansion. Glad to have Mr. Parkside. with us today. So Mr. Cronshaw, would you please come forward and talk about the expansion of East Timberline wastewater management system?
Thank you very much for the opportunity. The district was created here on November the 2nd, 2009, and only Mr. Trainer and Mr. Ward, Mr. Howard, or the only two on the board that was there then. We've got about 1,250 customers currently. We spent about $4.5 million on the first contract. We loan grant from USDA Rural Development. The one that we're currently working on is a $5.3 million loan grant. We're in the process of putting sewer in University Estates, Sheely Hills, College Vista. We're going up 16 Section Road. We're just south of the railroad track. We're going just past the school. We're going to go down on West Point Road and connect Steel Plantation. We're going to go further east on 182 to Hickory Grove Road. We're going to go down Curtis Chapel Road and connect Hunter Ridge. We're going to go a little ways south on Hickory Grove Road, connect that. We're going to add sewer to a lot of people within that footprint. And the idea about the district from way back when was we started out with the district that we could use the existing Viking facilities we acquired and Highlands to, if you will, base load the district to allow it to have enough operating capital to work. And this current expansion will pretty much build out the existing district. So we want to look forward to expanding the district, getting a larger footprint within Oktibbeha County, and be in position if the state or the federal wants to come up with water and sewer funds, which they all have been saying so for about 5 years now. We want to position the district to take all of those funds we can get and expand the district as much as we can get. The objective is, this really started with Browning Creek about 3 years ago, where Browning Creek came to the district and said, we would like for you to take over our district and operate it, and then as you can, connect it back to the public system, which would eliminate their lagoon. As we eliminate lagoons, it also, in many cases, like Hunter Ridge and Steel Plantation and the Highlands, it allows them to continue an expansion on the existing land that they were not allowed to add into from MDEQ because the lagoon was loaded. It had no capacity left. We pretty much end up with, for their areas, with whatever they want to expand it to, and we expect some Steel Plantation expansion. Hunter Ridge plans to expand. We're picking up some other areas. The Westlake subdivision, which is across from the fire station on 182, they have a plan that's a 36 lot development. Their plans are to mirror 36 more lots on the other side, and by having the sewer they can do that. The discussions we've had with a lot of people around the county and the area is to go from basically Rock Hill Road on the north, go around the county line to about Robinson Road, and go back across to Old Highway 25. This is a map. I've got 3 or 4 of these maps, and I think you may have them too. But this is the way Mr. Pritchard's office was kind enough to make us one. The blue line, or the smaller square, is the existing district. The red line is the proposed district. And we'll go from about 13% of Oktibbeha County to approximately 30% of Oktibbeha County, which gets us further down the road where we can continue to go with USDA Rural Development loan grants, or hopefully get some 100% grants out of all this new money they keep talking about. If we can get a line down to Browning Creek, for example, There's 3 or 4 other subdivisions down there that have lagoons that, in the near term after that, they would be connected, and the additional land they have could be expanded and developed, which is hopefully the long term is you can do that. With the sewer, you can also go with smaller lots, as you probably know, which means they can sell more lots, so they've got more money to build better streets and better amenities for the area. So sewer itself does that because you can go from 2 or 3 acre lots down to ½ acre or 3/4 acre lots, depending on the size houses and what the developer is trying to do with that property. To do this, we have a petition that's in the file. I believe you have a copy of it. The state law requires you have at least 25 signatures. I believe we've got around 45 or 50, somewhere in that range. So it definitely is more than state law requires.
Thank you, Mr. Crossart, for that presentation. And being that it is the East Oktibbeha County, and that's something that a lot of people, I guess, on the west end of the county are asking, how long do you propose this build-out to take? Do you have any idea?
It depends on how much infrastructure money we can get. We don't know what we can get, as you know, as no one else. If they come up with money that they're saying they're going to come up with, and we've got some plans. One of the things that we've been looking at, and Supervisor Miller brought this up a long time ago, is down towards Mr. Williams. In that area, there is a big need for sewer in that particular area. There's some people that are putting it out on the ground, as some of the people we had in the Clayton Village area before we put the system in and got all that cleaned up. So it's we will probably need the Board of Supervisors' help and everybody to try to get all the funds we can from whatever source they become available. As an ongoing, we ask Phyllis Benson to continually look and see if there's any money out there we can get.
And at the same time, we keep in mind that this is no cost to the county.
That's correct. This is a revenue-based system, and that's a very important point. There are no taxes associated with the sewer district. So there's a little quirk in the law, which is probably a good thing. If you have 164 acres or more, then you have to opt into the district. By default, you're opted out. We had one person that opted in that had over 164 acres or more. And we sent letters to everyone that had 164 acres or more and said, you have an opportunity to opt in, your choice. And we got one back.
What do we hear from the board in regards to that, no cost to the county? And public sewer is on its way. And that seemed to be an interest for federal and state government to implement more public sewage opportunities for individuals all over the state of Mississippi. We would have to approve that you move forward with presenting this proposal to the state.
What has to be done, there has to be a public hearing. It has to be posted as you normally post things. I did copy the law, and it's on the left side of this folder. I just pulled it off Lay Law and copied it here. So you've got all the sections, you can read through it, and there is a description in there of the process that they want you to do for creating the district, and they call it annexation. The legal terminology is you annex additional land into the district. So that's there, and then there have to be a public hearing, and then the board at that point can decide whether or not to annex the additional area into the district.
What code section are you for?
19.5, 201 through, I think it's 151 or something like that.
Thank you.
I think it's a good thing. I make the motion that we move forward and set the public hearing for the creation of for the expansion of the district, East Oktibbeha wastewater. I'll second that.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we move forward with the expansion of East Octavia wastewater management district. All in favor?
Aye.
And that we set a date for a public hearing.
That's good.
Yes.
That's
We
good.
need a motion on that, or we set a date for a public hearing and advertise for the public hearing.
I guess what needs to happen is once Mr. Robinson can process everything, he'll recommend on the dates and everything, and we need to move forward.
We'll get together, you and I need to get together probably this week sometime.
Sounds like a winner. Just let me know, and the district does appreciate all the support that, the board has given the district over all these years in getting here. It was a huge effort, by the way, getting this thing created. The state has actually helped a little bit on the legal side of it, making it a little easier, but Jack Brown, I think, almost pulled all the hair out before we got it done before. But we got
your number, right?
Sir?
Stephen's got your number.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, definitely.
We'll get with you.
Okay, thanks, Ron.
We appreciate you.
Thank you very much.
We appreciate your work. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Until I get a chance to look over this, and we'll set up the date next time we can. There is no time constraint for you. Do we need to do a date before then? Mr. Price, are you aware of any reason we can't do set a date for the public hearing next meeting?
Your choice.
That's what making sure.
Just as long as you meet the publication requirements.
Just making sure you weren't on a deadline for money. I don't want to miss that.
Okay. I believe next on the agenda is Ms. Martin.
Yes, sir.
Do you need to present something to us?
Well, I would like to talk to the board about the new interlocal contract, if you have a few minutes.
Yeah, right, come, you may come forward. Okay. And Mr. Pritchard is not here, so thank you.
It was brought to me by Mr. Lawrence about 2 weeks ago, and hadn't been in communication between me or the board, and I'd just like to talk. The last contract was signed back in '04 between the city of Starkville and Octavia County by Miss Kite. She signed off on it too. And actually, she called me about 2 weeks before I was elected, and she said, "Alan, that's the first thing you need to do, is go up there and renegotiate that contract." She said, "I think you're going to be our next tax collector." Anyway, I tried for 2 years, never got nowhere. But anyway, we got one in place now. And if you read the section in the Mississippi Code, it says tax collectors paid a reasonable amount for his services and everything on that. I'm just asking the board to look around these other counties, what they pay. I got a few old comps here, you know, what the tax collector and the assessor, both of them just paid additional money on it. And this came from Miss Kite. She said the numbers on there, the number she accepted wasn't anywhere close. This was back in 2004. And I've been here going on 10 years. So my thinking is on it, I just want it to be fair. Nothing else.
I thought when we looked at that contract that was a very small amount.
Yeah, it's $8,946. The guy in Lowndes County is getting over 40,000, Tupelo 50,000. Monroe County is split between the assessor and collector 10 and 10.
Right.
Backing up to Lee County, the collector gets 30,000, the assessor gets 20,000. Monroe is split 10 and 10. Now, you know, I realize I got to collect it. I ain't got a problem collecting. I'm glad they collected it, just like I have the last 10 years. But I would like the board to make a reasonable decision on whatever compensation it is for this amount. And the new contract has where we're going from 50,000 to 60,000, what the city of Starkville is paying Octavia County. 30,000 of it comes to my office. But it's up to the board to do a board order saying how much the tax collector. There's nothing been said about that.
That's right.
And it's gotta be recorded in the board minutes and go before the Attorney General for approval.
And for argument's sake, y'all, we talked about this, probably a year ago? And
Probably so, yes.
something like that. And to be very honest with you, I was confused as to even, I wasn't aware of how this was broken down. So thank you for bringing.
Well, I researched a few of them, and what I got is old numbers. I did call Union County. And her husband was a collector, and he died a few years ago. When he took off at the same time I did. And at the time, Union County assessment was way less than us. Of course, it's probably more now in Toyota, but he was getting like 20 then at the same time.
If it pleases the board, I will get with and he's educated me more about this in the last time we talked than any other time, and I can bring a recommendation back to the board next time. That way you'll have the other two members back.
So we got a contract, and then we got a new contract that we're looking at implementing.
We got a new contract that we raised the amount we were getting from the city of Starkville, and I can't guarantee you, y'all, that we're going to continue. That they may take on their own.
To that point, how does that work?
Well, it's good for a year. Either party's got to notify the other party in 9 months.
Right.
The mayor briefly called me a couple months or so ago. She basically told me they was going to take it back.
Well, that's what I was
that would have been
told.
fine with me.
Oh, they want to take it
I
back?
didn't get it. But anyway, I assume now.
I think what this
Contract
came
been
down
signed.
to was that they were running out of time to be able to do it correctly, and I basically asked her that we could continue the conversation, but we could not continue under the same guidelines that we had. The county was losing money in the regards to paying the people that need to be
all the things to do.
right. And to her, to the mayor's benefit, she is acknowledging this is all tax money, and that this is the taxpayers' money, and we're not trying to make a profit off of this, and he's not our tax collector is not trying to make a profit off of this. But it was a situation where there was some costs that needed to be carried over. I do think it's a conversation that we're going to have to continue having. I was under the impression they were going to take this back as well, and we were just running out of time. So something needed to be put in place, and rather than going backwards in terms of what we were getting, I went ahead and tried to get us at least the additional money moving forward. So if the board wishes, I will get with our tax collector and find out what his recommendation is, and talk to each of y'all individually before we get here, so you won't be caught flat-footed right now.
I mean, if you get 4, 5, 6 county, pretty much the same assessment. Do an average.
Right.
I mean, that's fair.
But the contract is only for 1 year.
Right. This is a 1 year.
It's always 1 year. It's renewed every year.
Renewed every year.
But you have to give a 9-month notice.
That's the way it's written. Yes.
So we need to be kind of getting our head together as to where we want to be with this and how we want to approach it. And look, he's forgotten more law than I've learned about some of this, so I'm having to learn a little bit of this as we're going on with the tax collector side of it.
As far as the 60,000 or 50,000, which we've been paying, there's no way they can do it. Put up, I mean, postage, employees,
That's
mail
why-
out. There's no way they can do it.
I guess I was gonna ask a question is then, so if you live in the city and you pay your taxes, city taxes, well, I mean, your ad valorem taxes, school taxes, but you live inside the city, are they gonna have a separate office that people who live inside the city go pay their taxes?
That's where it was before they did it.
And it
Right,
was
you
all
go and
messed
sit
up.
down.
That's what I'm saying. They'd have to hire probably at least 3 people to collect. They'd have to conduct their tax sale. I mean, it costs
Software.
60,000 software, 60,000 when touching
New
this.
staff.
I mean, it's still a bargain.
The impression I got from the city, and this could change, because I honestly think that and her reasoning is that we're collecting taxes already. Why is it costing this additional amount? And And I think part of this is that she may just, or the city may be unaware of some of the costs that are involved. So I'm not suggesting to you that she's being unfair in her thought process. I just think there may be some things that she just may be unaware of. I think that may be a fair assessment.
If the city of Starkville was collecting, they gotta mail every taxpayer a bill. They gotta mail every taxpayer a receipt. And your postage goes up every year.
When you spoke to her, were you able to communicate some of that with her, or?
It was very brief.
But it may not be a bad thing for us to meet with her together and just see where it goes. I mean,
If she'd look, and she may have, I don't know, but if she looked from bottom to top, what all was involved on the cost. I mean, like John said, the software and
I was
everything.
gonna ask this, what about a tax sale?
She'd have to conduct the tax.
Two
sale.
separate tax sales.
What do you do for the school district?
We collect it.
But do we have a contract with them?
Not that I know of. I don't think
that we,
have to on that.
yeah.
I think
In this
just
particular-
mandatory gotta do it or whatever.
We don't have to do this.
But now we got a consolidated school district now. We don't have a county school district
Right.
like the law says.
Right,
So,
there may be a different
I don't know.
dynamic here.
And that's way more money than what the city.
See, when we collected for the city, when I first started here, and Dolores was there too, there was a lot bigger check going to the city of Starkville because we were collecting city school taxes and the city taxes on property, you know. So, and once they consolidated, then it goes all to the Starkville Activity Hall School District.
I think there's a part. Sorry.
So you talking about an extra $10,000? Going from 50 to 60.
50,000 to 60,000.
Okay.
The first contract was signed in 04, 17 years ago. Got a $10,000 increase over 17 years.
Okay, now we need to deal with that. And then your portion is only 8,000 that you get.
Mine, 89.46.
I was,
And Miss Pat agreed to that. She said, Alan, I didn't have any idea what number to put down. I just put a number down. She called me 2 weeks before election. She said, that's nowhere close to what it ought to be.
And from your perspective, you don't care, let me make sure I'm on the same page as you. From your perspective, what contract we have with them interlocally, it is whatever it is. From your perspective though, you're not getting enough to cover the work that's being done out of your office with 8,900, correct?
Well, West Bend, it says my office gets 25,000.
Okay.
Of that, my salary was 89.46, and she gave about 9 employee raises out of part of that money. There's one employee still working here that got a 35 cents an hour raise. If you figure that over a year's time, that's $700-800. There's 5,000 put in my assessor's account that only I can get. It's turned back to the county year after year, $5,000. It's in there. End of the year, it's flipped back to the county.
So on this year's contract, tell you what, let's have this conversation in private so that I'm not talking about your money.
Well, I'm just from a city standpoint, if you doubled 89 and went to 20,000, just use that for an example, that still would be, man, it would be worth trying to go back in the tax rate, but that's me looking at it.
Well, from their perspective, the city doesn't have any idea what we're paying him. I guess is a fair assessment.
Probably don't.
We decide that. In other words, that $60,000.
it's 60,000 in her mind.
Right, but 60,000 is what she's paying us to do. From his perspective, he's only getting 8,900 out of it. Is that?
Well, out of the 50,000,
Out of
25 went to my office.
25
went to the county general fund.
Right.
And I don't know where that money went.
Yeah.
You know what's done with that. But out of the 25,000 that's been coming to my office since I've been here 10 years,
So you're-
I'm getting 89.46.
So you're telling me for us to change that number as to what you're getting out of that. Would that be a fair statement?
If you read, I made a copy of this on Mississippi Code 2533. It says, in addition to all other compensation paid to assessors and tax collectors, the board of supervisors of a county shall allow for such assessor or tax collector or both to be paid additional compensation when there is a contract between the county and one or more municipalities providing that the assessor or tax collector or both shall assess or collect taxes or both for the municipalities. And such assessor or tax collector or both shall be authorized to receive such additional compensation from the county and or the municipality or municipalities in any amount allowed by the county or the municipality performing these services. There's AG's opinion in there also. It says it must be paid a reasonable amount, under AG's opinion.
Well, why don't you-
That's in the code section there.
So we're clear, the 60,000 that they're currently paying, we've got a new interlocal for this year, and he's only getting $8,900 out of that period, and that's what's been going for 20 years? I mean, it's been going on a while.
Been going since
General
04.
fund gets 25 and now 30 of it, I suppose.
Right. So what we've got to decide, and maybe this is something that by the time we come back next time,
Y'all need to meet with the mayor.
no, this has nothing, this part of what he's talking about.
The
doesn't have
contract's
anything to
already
do-
been signed by the mayor and the president of the board.
Right.
They're waiting on me to sign it.
Right.
Attorney Robinson to have
It's already
communication
signed.
with.
Well, the issue is not, his issue is not with the mayor.
Right.
His issue is with us.
Right, with us.
That
I
mayor-
mean, the mayor and I could have agreed on a price, and it could have been written where the city paid the tax collector X number of dollars.
Right.
In other
Well, I
words,
think that's
the county-
What I told her, I said, I'm not pushing this. I said, the county is behind this. I said, Rob, the board attorney's got the,
Well,
he's got the
you
numbers.
tell me what you want, and I'll try to get you what you
Well,
need.
I mean, it should be fair. I'm not gonna be here much longer. It
I
should
know,
be fair.
you're trying to get it set up.
It should
for the
be
future.
fair for whoever's in this job. They shouldn't have to deal with this every 4 years, maybe. You know, every 4 years, according to state audit, it should be renegotiated. That's what they tell you.
So the
Yeah.
county needs to present a recommendation that we feel to be a fair assessment cost.
Of compensation
And
to
then
the
Fair compensation for the assessor collector. See, this county is one, some counties split it. Some counties you got an assessor, then you got a collector, and they divide it up.
And that's gonna take some communication between you, Rob, to come back to the board with a recommendation.
And that's what
We
we'll
can
do.
just look at some similar counties and come up with an average.
And, yeah, right.
To me, that's fair.
Take a look at some of the other counties and see what they're doing. Could we get a motion to that effect, that we allow?
So moved.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we allow some communication to take place between Attorney Robinson and, Ms. Martin. And come back to the board with a recommendation with a fair compensation.
I'm gonna thank the board for it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Judge Hill, sir.
All in favor?
Yeah.
Motion carries 3-0. Okay, move forward. Ms. Livingston, do you have?
I don't have anything.
anything? Moving forward with, county business administration, Ms. Formal.
We have in your package, 2 payroll changes from the sheriff's department for your approval.
Motion for approval.
Changes, motion for approval by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery. All in favor of payroll changes, motion carries 3-0.
We need to acknowledge the fiscal year 2020 continuing disclosure filing.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Trainer.
I have a question on that one. And the reason I have a question is Supervisor Miller asked me to make certain, that this is made public, the disclosure filing, which I'm assuming it's always made public.
It is.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure I'm doing what
Would
she
we
asked me to.
advertise that, or would we need to, what do we need to do?
It's about this here.
Yeah,
No, it's just made,
It's just made public.
public record. Public record.
Okay, I just want to make sure I did what she asked me to do.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
We have an invoice from Pritchard Engineering on Sellers and Bluefield Road in the amount of $1,785.34.
Motion for approval. Second.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we pay both invoices from Pritchard Engineer. Both invoice, and there is a role for, I believe that's in Supervisor, Montgomery. Is that your district?
That's a three.
In three?
Blue and three.
Yeah, I think there was.
They're both in Supervisor Howard.
Supervisor
Blue
Howard.
field is me, but this is blue.
Right,
Blue
that's
roof.
right, that's right.
So that's where he did the slurry seal, and
Slurry seal.
according to Supervisor Howard, he was
He's
pretty satisfied.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
We have an invoice from T.L. Wallace Construction for the work done on Sellers and Bluefield Road in the amount of $53,002.07.
Make motion for approval.
Motion by Supervisor Montgomery,
Second.
second by Supervisor Trainer, that we approve that invoice. All in favor?
It's Blue Roads, I think you said Bluefield, but it's
Oh.
Blue.
Blue Road.
My apologies, Blue Road. Thank you.
That's the same one that in Supervisor Howard, that he was satisfied with.
Yeah,
Mhm.
very satisfied.
Thank you. We have a Talking Water utility easement on Osby Road.
Motion for approval.
Motion by
Second.
Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Trainer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
Franklin telephone easement, Artesia, Chapel Hill, and Crawford Road. You have in your package.
Motion by Supervisor
Second.
Montgomery, second by Supervisor Trainer. All in favor?
Aye.
Motion carries 3-0.
And the final thing, well, we have a compliance audit exit, conference that will need to be signed by the board president.
Motion for authority to do that.
Second.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery, that we, sign and approve the audit exit conference. All in favor? Motion carries 3-0.
And one other thing, I need to remind the board of the meeting on next Wednesday at 9, which will be the capital improvement workshop, I should say, with Mr. Lean. And that will be May the 26th at 9 o'clock, capital improvement workshop.
Right.
It'll be here in the boardroom. Just a reminder of that.
It's on the 26th.
The 26th at 9.
Thank you. Appreciate
welcome.
that.
And that's all I have.
Thank you, Ms. Foreman. Thank you for that, information, about county business. Moving forward, county business administration. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Now, let's move forward then with county business supervisors. We have a reappointment, for the Hendricks Museum Board, 3-year term. What do we hear from the board in relation to that?
Make a motion, we reappoint, Mr. Jerry Draw.
I'll second that motion.
Motion by Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery. All in favor? Motion carries 3-0 for the reappointment. Do we have anything else on county business?
Several people have reached out to me and recommended this gentleman, and he himself reached out to me. There's going to be a vacancy on our airport board, but I would like to make a motion to put Mr. Trey Breckenridge on that board. He comes with a wealth of knowledge as far as aviation is concerned. Understands how that all plays into the economy here, you know, Starkville and our county as well. So that's something that is certainly a rare trait, and he's very enthusiastic about this position. So that's my motion.
Well, I received that correspondence from him too, and he does seem to be enthusiastic about it. What created that opening on the board? Do you know?
Sonny Kelly retired.
Yeah,
Sonny Kelly retired.
Okay, that's right. He
and
should
so
be.
I think it's at the end of
June.
Yeah, I didn't know if it was the end of May, that's why I brought it up, and I didn't want it to slip into June. So it's the end of June.
Yeah, I believe it is.
So I suppose it'll be in the event that, you know, at the end of Mr. Kelly's term.
Right.
So,
Of course, if they have a meeting or something between now and then, you know, he could attend as a guest.
sure.
Since I received that same correspondence, I'm gonna second that, from the chair. So motion carried by Supervisor Montgomery, second by Supervisor Williams, about appointing, repeat that name again.
Trade Breckenridge.
All in favor? Motion carries 3-0.
Is that BRECKENRIDG?
It's just like the,
I think it's just like
BRECKINRIDG.
I guess it's just like them, right there.
Just like the same.
You see his name right there?
Is that B-R-E-Y?
I think that's it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think that's how you spell it.
I'm glad I'm not the only one who's having
Yeah, spelling is better than my thing. There's an after that, man.
That sure is.
There's an after that.
Do we have any additional county business coming from supervisor?
Yes, sir,
Supervisor
Mr.
Trey?
Williams, I wanted to report on this. I know we have 2 members out, but just for the sake of discussing this at this time, we can. And if we need to, we can discuss it again, because hopefully on the 26th, it'll be a board meeting. If we need to take action, then we can. But I have had an opportunity to meet with our representatives from the Pickering firm as it relates to the grant that they submitted, well, the process of submitting the grant that they did for us on last year. And they're wanting to resubmit an effort, a federal effort, to perhaps get funding for the South Loop project that we have been trying to get funded here for the last year. So a couple of things that come up out of that meeting. One is that they're wanting some members of the board to travel with them in June, leaving on the 8th, and coming and meeting with our representatives on the 9th, and then coming back on the 10th. And they're wanting, at least 2 members of the board, maybe the administrator, to go with them then. And then also, I have a contract for their services as it relates to the things that they need to do in order to prepare for that trip. And I can email it to you, and we can make a decision. It needs to be next Wednesday when we meet. But basically, for their services for this particular project is a consulting contract. I think it's to the tune of about $53,500, and it outlines the scope of work and the things that they're going to deliver, as it relates to that project. We've had a couple of sessions with individuals from the United States Department of Transportation by way of the RAISE grant that they're looking at trying to pursue this time. It was B.O.S grant, but when the new administration changed, now the acronym is RAISE, R-A-I-S-E, stands for something. Yeah. But nonetheless, they have been working together closely with us, and also with Mississippi State, trying to secure funding for this South Loop project. And, Mr. Carl Ray and that firm have seemed to think that this time they're going to have to make some adjustments based upon some of the language and some of the things that are expected out of this administration as it relates to evaluating this grant. So basically, 2 things that the board needs to do. One is to, if we want to move forward on that, to approve the contract for the services. And then also the second part would be selecting individuals to go in June. I usually try to go by and see our representatives when I go to NACO. But the only thing about that is that you have so many people that are coming there, and they get slammed with so many different individuals that you really don't get the full essence that you would if you go on your own. And so Mr. Furr is recommending that we go with them in June, and whatever priorities that we have, be it South Loop, other things that we've been talking about, that would be a good time to make a presentation to our delegation to get some support and get some direction on how to get some of this stuff funded. I know we've talked about buildings, we've talked about lakes, and all types of other things, but hopefully between now and then we can have our list presentable to where we can make a presentation and talk to Senator Hyde. What we're looking at doing is actually getting some time with the senators, Senator Hyde Smith, and also with Senator Whipper, as it relates to getting Oktibbeha Hall County some support on some of these projects, along with Mississippi State and Oktibbeha Hall. We seem to think that we can make some headway trying to get these projects funded. So I just wanted to kind of run that by you. I didn't know whether you wanted to make a decision today, or we need to table it to next time when we get all our members here. But I can send you the contract out. You can look at it. And if at the latest we need to make a decision on it no later than when we meet on the 26th, that's going to be a meeting anyway. If we need to make a decision, then we can.
So we can just recess this meeting until
the 26th. And hopefully we'll have Ms. Miller and Mr. Howard be here And I think Ms. Garrett, I know Mr. Williams had it.
Yeah, I sent that contract to,
I don't know whether you have it.
Attorney
I
Robinson.
got it today.
You got
Today,
it?
I sent it today to Attorney Robinson and Ms. Garrett, then I sent it to all the board members, because you sent it to me.
Right, because he addressed it to me first, I said, we need to correct that.
And I forwarded it on to all the board members, so you have that contract in your, email now, and then the scope of his contract is in that too, in terms of what he will be responsible for doing. And I'm glad, Supervisor Trainer brought that up, because I didn't know when we should sign the contract, whether we push to sign it now, or whether we can wait till after they get a chance to look at the contract and look at the scope of the responsibility. When do you think that?
Since we're gonna meet next Wednesday, I think that'll give us enough time to process between now and then.
We'll look at it then and tackle it.
Tackle it then, because it's gonna be a recess meeting, so everybody can get the email and look at it. And if you got any questions, anything if you need to have some contact with the firm to kind of get understand how the process is gonna work, you got time to do that. Yeah, so, but I think that along that and some of the other things, these are the type of investments that we'll have to make, and we want to get some attention, get some assistance. I mean, that's just the way it is. I know we got several big projects on the table, but hey, that's just the lay of the land.
Yeah, Supervisor Howard said you gotta put more money in there and get the skin in the game.
That's it.
And we've seen with a lobby firm, sometimes, where it comes and where it goes, but I think we've got our money's worth there.
Well, not only that, but even with this new dollars that's coming out from ARP, we got to start going and watching. I mean, don't think that this money just came out of the sky. You had NACO working hard, extremely hard, to get that legislation and get people in place so this money can be available for counties. And I think we need to be a little bit more aggressive, when it comes down to that, and also establish relationships on the state level and on the federal level if we want to get these projects.
June 8th through the 10th is the dates that they've set in stone.
That's the dates they set in stone. They want to travel on the 8th, meet on the 9th, and come back on the 10th.
In Washington?
In DC, right, DC. So I mean, I don't mind going. I can't go, but we need at least 2 members.
I gotta see what my schedule.
Well, Attorney Robinson can go. It's 2 supervisors, no more than
2 supervisors.
No more than 2 supervisors. But our county administrator could go. That would have interfered.
Well, not till July 1. This is in June.
My suggestion would be that
But we'll have that conversation.
And we can set travel if need be.
Right. So we can do that. And of course, you got NACO's annual meeting gonna be in DC. It'll be in July, but it won't be in DC. It'll be in Virginia, which we won't be far from.
do y'all want me to reach out, and this is a question I'll state, but would y'all like me to reach out? The mayor has mentioned to me wanting for me to reach out to you, us setting up times for us to go to DC and do exactly what you're talking about doing here. So do you want me to reach out to her on this situation as well?
You probably want to look at well, first of all, we need to get together. Are they going to support our project, or they got some other stuff?
We're gonna support.
We may need to have a little powwow together.
Right, I think that's
what
a good idea.
we're going to ask.
Right, what we're going to ask together.
I think that's probably
right.
I will lead in with that.
Right, so that's what we need to do. We need to have a little work session with them and us and see.
That's right.
I'll do that before we all meet next week.
Whether or not we are saying the same thing when we go with the city.
Right. They probably will.
And they may have something similar, different. They may have the same. I don't know. I do know this. She has asked me to reach out and basically are saying the same thing. We're going to have to do some of this. I know that it's tough to ask everybody to go to DC, and I mean, it's traveling, and it can be tough.
You look at the flip side of it is, I mean, look at the track record, look at where the money's coming from, look at what we got as far as with the travel. I know it costs. I mean, when I go to NACO, the county may spend $2,000 or $3,000, but then you look at the return that you're getting for the investment. I mean,
there's no doubt in my mind. This is well worth the time and energy it takes. And I think a lot of times our constituents don't understand. It's not like you're going there to vacation.
No,
This is work.
Yeah, no,
So-
It's work, it's work. Which reminds me, would this be a good time to talk only about the southern bypass or to interject, the county building and, the county dam?
You'll have their ear, so, you know,
So you
whatever.
talk to them while you got them?
Why you got it. Cause they're gonna be specifically set aside for October County when we go there. So you have their ear.
If I can, I'll go. I think it's important for us to do some of this, and I'll have to rearrange some stuff, but I think it's important.
If no one else would want to go, I'd like to, go along with that delegation.
Well, right now, if you go, then you two can go, cause you
Well,
president.
know if, you and.
But we'll work it out.
You work it out. Okay. That's right. Well, move forward with that.
So that's all I have for tonight. Anything else?
Then we need to request travel.
Right, I make a motion, we approve travel for
Tentatively upon whoever goes.
Right, for travel to DC to be with our federal delegation, June 8th through the 10th.
So that's your motion?
That's my motion.
Okay.
Motion to request travel, for the delegation for whoever's going from June the 8th through the 10th to Washington. Second by Supervisor Trainer.
He's made the motion.
Oh, I'm sorry. Supervisor Trainer, second by Supervisor Montgomery. All in favor? Motion carries 3-0.
And what I'll do, I'll coordinate with the administrator's office as far as some of the travel details. Some of the travel details will be specific and some may not be as far as the housing this month. And of course, I'm sure we'll be leaving from out here.
Go try.
We'll check on the flights. Matter of fact, I even talked to check on the flight. That's right there. But we got some time for that.
I don't need to have to be the one to go. If someone else wants to travel with that delegation with Supervisor Trainer, I think he's already familiar with the operation there. So if someone else wants to travel along with him, that would be fine.
Check and see. Like I said, I'm a dad as well. Fortunate. Fortunate, unfortunate.
You'll be like me in a few years. I got 2 graduates, one from high school and one from
I
college.
got 15 and a 13 there.
Enjoy them while you can.
Yeah,
With that being said, no other business. I'll make a motion that we stand recess to the 26th.
well, let me, there might be something else. I'm concerned about, all our supervisors knowing the balance on their 4-year road plan, because we are getting ready this summer to start spending funds. So if you would, Ms. Former, would you be responsible for giving each supervisor a balance on their 4-year road plan? In addition to that, are we going to separate the state aid funds that we have? If so, we should separate those officially. I know they separate, I guess, but I think we should officially separate those state aid dollars and let everyone know how much state aid funding they also have.
Miss Emily did in mine when I did Maiden Sturgis.
Right, she did. Oh, we did, Joe.
I've got Maiden Sturgis, she got my my state aid in my county, so.
Right, okay. So the other supervisors might know the same thing. I would like to know my balance. If someone else might want to contact you about their balance too as well. I'd like to, well, we haven't heard from Mr. Clyde Pritchard yet in terms of program and the roles that we talked about on the last board meeting. Once those roles are being programmed, I hope that we'll move forward with advertising so we know how much funding it's gonna cost to be able to pay, the roads that we're talking about paving. And those are the state aid roads that we're talking about. So we did hear from Mr. Clark today, so I guess we can't do anything in regards to that. I don't have anything else, if someone else from the board has something. If not, Supervisor Clayton has a motion for adjournment, second by Supervisor Montgomery.
Recess until
Recess.
26 at 9. 26 at 9.
26 at 9.
Y'all have a great evening.
Recess.
Ricky wanted me to also announce this, or actually Kristen, I think what, she wanted to make sure that everyone knew that there were 31,666 people who received vaccinations at the horse park, from January through last Monday.
They moved that from Hall Park to